Go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call Policies and Priorities Committee meeting to order Monday, December 13th, 2021. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Nobre.
That all items in the Monday, December 13th, 2021 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, November 8th, 2021 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Nobre.
Monday, November 8th, 2021 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Majinski. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We've had an issue with our delegation calling in tonight, so we'll have to postpone that till the new year. So we'll move on to reports. 5.1. Min 52 Recreation Pass Benefit Policy. Motion to discuss. Seconder. Councillor Kirkowka. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So thank you to staff for bringing this forward just to get some clarification on it. And I know there's been some questions revolving around it and a couple of issues as well. So just wondering what council's thoughts are on it and if there's anything missing on the policy or if you'd like to make an amendment. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess just council's feeling in there. I talked to a lot of, most of the councils anyways about it, but I believe when we first made this policy, it was for the nurse or the healthcare professional, it was for the individual and their family, full access to the community center as well as golf. When we did that, we also included, when it was first built, the fire department was included in that as well, the Firefighter Association was included in that, and we actually changed that motion when we realized it and took it away from the fire department family for golf. It was just the firefighter. And then it was a full access for their family, for the community center. But I don't ever remember making a motion or discussion about taking it away from the healthcare professionals, their family, in regards to golf. So we talk about recruiting and retaining the healthcare professionals, whether it be the doctors, X-ray lab, or the nurses. And this is one of the incentives that came from Councillor Howe. And that's why I remembered so clearly that it was so that we could try to use that as retaining the healthcare, but also attracting those healthcare professionals. So I'd like to add it back on that it is for the healthcare professional and their family, full access to the community center as well as golf.
Seconder. Councillor Howe. Discussion. Councillor Howe.
Just so I'm clear, so the issue is that it's not just the healthcare professional staff, it's that you wanted family as well, because as it sits right now, healthcare professionals are included in the VIP golf, but you want all family members included, all immediate family.
Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so
That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing. So I believe it used to be that way, that it was a healthcare professional and a family for golf. And when we changed it again, when we changed it for the firefighter, we realized that maybe we were trying to use healthcare as a number one priority, so that's where it came from. It came from Council Howe. And as we started adding people, I think we forgot that we didn't want it for all the families in regards to the Firefighter Association. And when we changed that, I believe it was changed for the nurses or the healthcare professionals.
Councillor Howe.
So I would be in support of that. I mean, again, I think our whole point with healthcare is we're trying to look for anything creative that we can use just to sweeten the pot a little bit for any healthcare professionals to come to Tumbler Ridge. And if that means we get an opportunity to sit with a nurse and their spouse and say, hey, this is something that we also offer. Not that they're going to make the decision based solely on that, by no means, I get that, but it's just to show that the community actually is going to do more for us than any other community you're going to go to. And that to me is, if it's a small thing that we can give that just helps seal that person's decision with coming to Tumbler Ridge, then to me, it's well worth it. It doesn't cost us a lot of money. It doesn't cost us nearly anything. So.
Yep. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Howe.
So where are we with how the passes are going to be administered now? So in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understood it was happening is that DTR staff would be contacted by Northern Health that a new nurse or doctor has showed up, and they would then bring the pass over once they were printed off, and Northern Health would then hand the pass out. We have amended that at this point. Is it done that it is going to be a member of council or a member of staff to hand that out?
As far as I understand, we did talk about that last meeting. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so we actually talked about that at the last meeting. It's been amended, so it's the chair or co-chair will set it up through the mayor's health or the health task force, and then that individual will call the rest of council or email council and them know that we've had some passes and going to do a meet and greet with the healthcare professional. Councillor Lehman probably contacted council after the meeting. We just received 3 passes from, or 3 envelopes from staff for passes that need to be presented to 3 healthcare professionals.
Okay. We do have a motion on the floor still in regards to the families for the healthcare professionals. Any other comments or questions in regards to that? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Sorry, back to the topic at hand here for the handing out of passes. Did you get your answer?
Yeah, it just is. Where is it within the policy? Like, I know we talked about it at the previous meeting, but it'll be added to the policy, or am I missing it within the policy?
Ms. Thompson, I know we talked about delivering passes last meeting. Is there plans to add that procedure to this policy as it stands at the moment?
We should be adding it to the procedure there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howe?
And the only reason I ask that is that I don't want to see it fall off the table that we only do it for the ambulance, or sorry, for the healthcare professionals. I also want it noted that we make sure that we don't let this fall off the table for the RCMP members, DC ambulance, the firefighters, whoever. The firefighter seems to be pretty congruent. Our fire chief should be handling that, or to some degree. But as a council, is that what we want? Do we want the fire chief to hand this out, or do we want it to come from council and staff? What to me, I think it should always come from us. It gives us an opportunity to get out and meet somebody to say thank you from the community for what you're doing to give it back. So
I tend to agree. I think it's a little more personable coming from either one of us. Any other comments? Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious on, did we have any discussion on agency nurses and what we offered to them when they came in? Did they have full access to the community center but not golf? Is that correct? Because I think we might have had a little bit of confusion there on why we changed these, and because we did have a lot of discussion on the agency nurses and how we wanted to retain them and maybe give them a good impression. So
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Councillor Kirkowka, are you aware?
Yeah, that might be a good one for staff. My opinion, they're an agency nurse is still a healthcare professional. I guess not a bad thing, but most of the agency nurses that we see in Tumbler Ridge today have been here multiple times. So, I mean, I think normally in the past, I've seen it, where the agency nurse comes in and there's a pass handed to them with a timestamp. So if they know that the agency nurse is here for 2 weeks, their passes are 2 weeks. And again, I think what that does to force to keep doing that, golf and full access, so they don't normally come with their families anyway, it's just the individual healthcare professional. But I think it gets back out there. You know, it gets back out there when they go to other places and talk about what Tumbler Ridge is doing, what the residents have done through council, or what council's ideas are. And I think what it does is benefit us when these people are talking to people that are in bigger centers that are doing college still, but they're actually doing their practicum at one of the hospitals there. And there's some talk about it. I think that's what we need to get out. I think that's one thing we miss is not getting out to these colleges to show what we're doing. And we missed that this summer when we had 4 students come in to our community and they weren't given the access pass. So I think it should be included if that's your question.
Mm-hmm.
So another amendment?
I don't know if I just asked staff, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to Rich
Okay,
it just might be
sure. Ms. Thompson, are you aware of an amendment in that regard?
Thank you, Member Trent. So when we're looking underneath healthcare professional staff, it does say between part-time and full-time. So we can put the detail of agency nurses, med students, but I think as part-time, they would qualify underneath that. I will note that there is a little bit of process that we have to figure out with Northern Health, we don't know when agency nurses are coming in or when med students are. So that's something that Northern Health will have to communicate with us so that we can do it. And I know that there is somewhat concern with releasing names to us so we can get the passes made up. And the request was that we would just provide blank passes, but I don't really want to do that because then that could be passed on and passed on and passed on. So we do want to have that personalization on them. So it is something that we have spoken with Northern Health about and are trying to figure out.
Yeah, maybe it's not just an access card, maybe it's a punch pass or something like that, possibly. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I mean, it sounds like staff understands the essence of the policy here, but I think it would be benefited if we add in including temporary, because I mean maybe Councillor Kalka can enlighten me on their technical classification in the health industry, but temporary may not exactly also mean part-time. So I think just for clarity moving forward, I would be unless I'm off base, I think we should add temporary.
It's a good idea.
Okay, so can I make that amendment? I'd like to amend that we include temporary healthcare professional staff in both the VIP golf membership and the VIP access passes.
Seconder, Councillor Howell. Discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Councillor Howell?
Yeah, just for clarity, I mean, the first thing is blank misses the point. We don't hand out a blank pass, that totally misses the point. That's exactly why we're in this situation talking about this again. It's because council wasn't included in it and it's just Northern Health. And again, not super happy with Northern Health, so my take on it is that we got to do more on that end of it. Blank passes is not the way to go. But I want to make sure that we are including, does council feel that we are including temporary staff's family as well? Because I do know of a nurse that came to Tumbler Ridge and brought her husband up here, or boyfriend, whatever it was, for a bit of a vacation while she was up here working. And so that to me is the opportunity where they've came here, they're looking at the community, and you give them that little added benefit to think maybe this is a place that we could possibly move to and do a full-time thing. So I don't know if it's council's feeling, but that's my impression that family's included, but.
Yeah, and that's the way it states for the all access pass for the community center is immediate family members as well. So not just the community center, not the golf. Okay. Councillor Howe?
I'll make the amendment that we include the VIP golf membership to families as well for medical staff.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Majinski. Discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. And Ms. Thompson, do we need a motion for adding council delivery of the passes and procedure? I'll make that motion, please. That council hands out the passes to the recipients. Seconder, Councillor Lehman. Discussion? Councillor Norbury?
My only thought, I'm supportive of it. My only thought is, what if we were just busy? Like, are we okay with letting staff or the organization's supervisor hand it out? I'm content if we're not available.
Yeah, I'm Councillor Hall.
That to me, not the organization's staff to hand it out. Our staff could hand it out. It's important that the message gets to them why they're getting the golf pass or why they're getting the VIP pass. That message gets lost when Northern Health hands it out or the RCMP sergeant hands it out. If staff is there, they know our wishes and our desires and that of the community. That's why it has to be councillor staff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think Councillor Norbury is mentioning if all 7 of us are busy, are okay with our staff, CAO or possible replacement to hand out the passes. And I think in that type of a circumstance, I would be okay with that. Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, then maybe, to add a little more clarity, thank you, Councillor Hall, for it's good to have distinction. Maybe senior management staff, just so that I think what we're trying to portray is that commitment on behalf of the district, right? And we lose a little bit of that if we have just
Somebody.
Yeah. Trouble saying, so can I make an amendment to that motion that we add senior management to people permitted to hand out passes?
Okay. Seconder on the amendment. Councillor Kirkowka, discussion on the amendment? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Discussion on the amended motion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Other items council wants to talk about on this policy? So at this point, we have BC ambulance families, firefighter families, mayor and council families not included in the golf membership. Council's still okay with all that? Okay. I think that was a bit of a cause of confusion at the beginning or the start of this policy, is a bit of confusion as far as families go and where they're included in that, so. Comfortable with that? Okay. 5.2, Greater Metro Hockey League West Junior A Hockey report dated December 13th, 2021. Recreation Services Manager regarding GMHL West Junior A Hockey coming to Tumbler Ridge. Councillor Howe?
Put the recommendation on the floor. The council directs administration to begin negotiations with the Greater Metro Junior A Hockey League and to host a junior A team in Tumbler Ridge. And that administration develop a 3-year facility use lease agreement for council's consideration and final approval.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'm in full support. I think it's a great opportunity for Tumbler Ridge. I'm glad that our community center staff brought this to us, and our staff has brought this to us. All my questions and concerns are answered in the report. Let's give it a try.
I think it's a phenomenal opportunity. Councillor Howe?
Yeah, incredible. My favorite thing about this is that it doesn't cost the taxpayers of Tumbler Ridge squat, right? But the people of Tumbler Ridge get the benefit of it. And there's a slew of benefits that come from a junior hockey team, whether it be junior B or A or the Metro Junior A program, it doesn't matter. A positive that comes out of this is added folks for employment. A lot of times these guys go on to work in the mines. They bring their families in, and brothers and sisters and billet families, and there's such a slew of good stuff that comes out of this for our community. And honestly, I think this goes back to what this council put in place of opening up our arena earlier in the season. It got the word out that Tumbler Ridge has a fantastic facility. That's why they're here. You know, they came here for a reason. The name is out. The people understand what we have for a recreation center. You'd never expect to see this in a town of 2,500 people, but it's here. And we've done a good job with staff and the minor hockey camps and hockey schools of getting the name out there. I'm super excited for it. There's one minor thing in this that I'm sure that we can work through, and that is dressing room allotment for tournaments. So right now we have one group, the Tumbler Ridge Old Timers group, that have had a lease on a room down there for 30 plus years. Don't think that's going anywhere. The junior team we had here previously, the Icemen, were in the room number 1. So then that leaves us rooms 2, 3, 4, and 6. So for a tournament, 4 groups is great. 4 rooms will work. 2 teams are on the ice, 2 teams are changing. You can do it with 4 change rooms. The problem that we have in minor hockey now, which isn't a problem, it's in the evolution of minor hockey, is females that are in the league. So generally they, at a certain age, they allow the girls to have their own change room. And in Tumbler Ridge, we adopted that as dressing room 3. We painted the door pink. We have a room that's set out strictly for girls. I don't think we should change that. I think we need to find a way to create another dressing room, be it we utilize the curling rink space or something in the youth center or at the end of the hallway, come up with some way that we can still do 4 dressing rooms on a temporary basis during the times that there is a tournament in there. We could just go away from a girls' change room and hustle the girls into the broom closet where they're used to going, but I think we're beyond that at this point. So I think that that's something as a council that we need to think about. If we could tweak the arena somehow to add an additional change room, and perhaps this is a bigger question of something we've talked about in the past, which is adding a change room on the opposite side of the arena. There was talk years ago of putting 2 change rooms on the opposite side of the arena, almost where the power generating what's the word?
Generator.
The generator sitting at. And there was discussion about putting a gym above of it. There was another idea of creating some type of space. I don't know if we need to go that grand or extravagant, but it is a thought process for us to start thinking about. That would be one thing for staff to negotiate their way around. So that's all I got.
Yeah, good point. Good concern about the dressing rooms too. Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering about the billeting and how that's going to go, because you're looking at, maybe 20, somewhere around that. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be enough people willing to bill it, because, even thinking about it, I think a lot of people are a little bit too busy maybe, and I don't know. I think that, I'm not sure if that's going to be a stumbling block or if that's going to be something that we'll have to address and try and figure out how we can make sure that we are going to have a bill that's available.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, don't know until you try, really.
Yeah.
And the hospitality in this community is hands down one of the best, so I'm sure there'll be open arms for this. And there's a lot of buzz around the community, talking to a few people and mentioning this. They're pretty excited for some entertainment. It's pretty neat. Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Yeah, this is very exciting. I mean, that was the whole point, us opening up our rinks, and this is what we've been pushing for so many years, is trying to get something generating, and this is excellent. I can't wait to have a season ticket. 21 home games gives the community something to get behind and get some community spirit. I think it's amazing.
I agree. I think it might work as some leverage for Ministry of Highways too.
Never know.
Okay. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 5.3, NORDIC and Mountain Society, WNMS, General Manager Darren Halsted, inviting a response from the district regarding a proposed change to route of TR Trail. Any concerns there, Council? Councillor Norbury?
My only concern is that we didn't get a map with exactly what's happening. Like, we got a map that has like a little square around Tumbler Ridge, and it's the same thing we have at the community forest. Okay, there's a map of Tumbler Ridge and a little outline, but we can't see anything, right? So, but I mean, we're, at least from the community forest perspective, we're always wanting to maintain community infrastructure such as trails. So, we don't have any issues there. I mean, it sounds like it's simple. We're going to move the trail across the road, which makes absolute sense.
Absolutely. I've been on that trail and tried to find a parking spot for that trail. It's quite a dangerous spot for sure. Councillor Howe?
I echo what Councillor Norbury is saying is, we talk about maps in this place all the time. And so I'm going to throw it back to staff that if you bring in a report forward that doesn't have maps in it that we can read, don't bring the report forward. Get better information before you put it on our desks, because it happens all the time. Always looking for better maps. So.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns? Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think they're just looking for, just correct, a letter of support from council saying that we're going forward with this. Is that correct? Back to staff? Or that's, so I'd still move that to send a letter of support from council.
Seconder? Councillor Norbury, discussion? Councillor
We
Kirkhalka?
know, maybe we can get a better map so we can actually see what we're looking at doing and why we're doing it. Like, I read it, don't get me wrong, I read it. It'd be nice to see the map and what we're changing and why we're changing. I understand in regards to the parking and all that, but I honestly don't know this trail. I've been on it myself, so. Little circle there, I think, it's a concern if we don't have the proper map for us, make sure we're not making changes that could hinder something else that's already out there that's using that certain access as well. Whether it's ATV, the horseback, all that, we don't have all that in here. And my other question would be back to staff, who owns the trail? And if they're trying to change it, is it a district-owned trail? And if it is, should staff be bringing that forward and not a not-for-profit?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Transfer Council. It has been brought to my attention, that the district is to, or the district does maintain parts of the TR trail, not all. And right now, we are looking for documentation on who actually owns it or who's responsible for the maintenance of the trail as well. So that's something that we're currently looking for, but we haven't been able to locate any formal documentation on the TR trail.
Okay. Right. I think a motion to defer might be appropriate here until we receive a better map. Is that what you're looking for? Councillor Kirkhope?
Yeah, I'd make that motion.
Seconder? Councillor Howe? Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 5.4, 2022 grant writer opportunities. Report dated December 13th, 2021 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding 2022 grant writer opportunities. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'd like to defer this because I've had some questions for the Chamber of Commerce before we make a decision on this. I mean, for myself, I would like to know, like I saw the report from, the
Chamber Manager.
excuse me, from the Chamber Manager, but, I would like to know what their opinion, or the Chamber itself, what their opinion on the usefulness of a grant writer at this current time. Are there a lot of granting agencies providing funding? How is our community in need of grants? I mean, I'm aware of grants. I apply for grants in my organizations. I know people do it themselves. I'd like to see if there's any other opportunities for the Chamber of Commerce as well. Because I'm in support of supporting a strong Chamber of Commerce. I think we absolutely need that. But is there other opportunities for them? Is this grant writing hindering them in anything? So I'd like to have a conversation.
I see what you're saying. Yep. Okay. Other comments? Like to make that motion then?
Defer. I'll make a motion to defer the grant writer.
Seconder, Councillor Kirby. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Strategic plan. Just reading over this over the last few days, it appears that we've kind of exhausted this plan a little bit. My opinion is that we need to have another workshop, set out another one. Council's thoughts? Basically, staff has brought this forward to see if, at the top part, the corporate priorities, if there's any of these items in the next column on the left that we can move up into the now, and where priorities lie. And I'm curious on council's thoughts, but my thoughts on this next list of 5 items, I'm not 100% sure if that's our priority list at this time. Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I agree. I think a strategic meeting would be beneficial to council to sit down and discuss before moving forward on. It would be too much for a meeting like this. I think it would take its own separate meeting.
Absolutely. Another workshop style.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Councillor Howe?
One thing that the Public Works Facility retrofit as a next, that's not a strategic priority of mine. A big thing for mine is again, is the land, is the 40-acre, we're calling it the 46-acre wood now. And the Rural Residential Saddle Club says it's delayed until February 2022. That again is a 7 years in the making. That to me is important to have lots ready to go before this council is done. And it should be done for the summer. We should have sellable lots by the summer. That to me is a priority that I would like to make sure is first and foremost for our staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still on there, definitely. The timeline on that, I'm not sure. I think that would be presumptuous given the delays with the Blueberry River case. But Ms. Thompson, can you enlighten us, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So that delay is right now with the province of British Columbia because of the cumulative effects with that Blueberry case. So we were expecting, the emails we had gotten were that we should have decisions by the end of December. I did receive an email this week now that we are delayed again till the end of February. So we paid the purchase price on the Saddle Club, but they can't give us the ownership of that until the cumulative effects and everything is negotiated. So that is the delay at this time. It's still with the province.
All land issues, all land titles, everything's been on hold. Councillor Howe?
So it's on hold because they're dealing with the Blueberry Indian portion of it, or what?
Because of the Blueberry case, all land transfers within the province have been on hold for the last 6 months, I believe, and now delayed another 2 months so that the province and the nation can negotiate consultation process going into the future.
So but we're not within the Blueberry area.
Treaty 8, yes we are.
That affects the decision that came down from the Blueberry case affects the area around Tumbler Ridge.
Treaty 8, yep. All of Treaty 8.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's basically been every single land title application has been on hold because of it. Community forests have been affected as well. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. My only thoughts in regards to adjusting our strategic priorities is, if we have another session, can we have one that has a little longer impact we had our strategic priorities, a year ago, right? So I think it's important maybe with moving forward to try and project this a little farther ahead.
3 to 5 years maybe? Or
Yeah,
3
because
years.
it doesn't make sense that we're going to pay all that money for a workshop to have 1 year worth of work. That's my only thought. I mean, it's important. We need to do it because I thought it very useful in arranging it, but a little longer lasting.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is actually 1 year's worth of work. I think it's multiple years, but I do think our priorities have shifted a little bit over the years, so I think it's well needed to update this as well. And to be honest, I'm not really sure if council or myself have really referenced this since it was been completed and published, because I know we've added a lot of work to staff's plate that isn't on this priorities chart. And I think next time going forward, when we do create that strategic plan, a work plan by our CAO should accompany that strategic plan. And at the regional district, great ideas come to the table every meeting, but if it's not within that piece of paper of the strategic plan or the work plan, it does not get talked about. Like, it's very focused that way. So I think we need to prioritize in that sense going forward, especially with a bit of capacity issues on our staff side. So as far as timelines go, obviously in the new year, but I'm not sure if after budget is waiting too long. I was wondering if council would want to try and set up a workshop during budget, possibly. Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I had a few thoughts, and I just throw it out there. I know previously Mr. Wall talked a lot about, our budget is kind of setting our strategic priorities. So, my thought is, would we get a better sense of what our priorities are after budget, or do we want to realize those before budget? It's chicken and egg. Like, what's the chicken, what's the egg?
That's the question.
Yeah, it might make sense that we'll have an understanding of where we want to go after budget. And budget starting in January, right?
End of January is our first budget meeting, I believe, 26th or something like that. Councillor Howe?
Well, I think it's imperative that you have your plan before you spend your money. So your strategic plan has to be completed, or at least have your vision of the direction council wants to go before you do a budget. If you do a budget and then we decide, geez, we want to put a running track in the arena, that's 2023 now, right? Instead of, okay, let's get the groundwork done, let's put some money towards engineering, let's whatever. So I think it's imperative that, unfortunately, we are running out of time this year already, and budget season is right around the corner. But as far as I'm concerned, we need to have some type of a strategic priority for the last 10 months of this council, and figure out what our priorities are going forward. And maybe a lot of that priorities has to do with, getting just stuff complete, so we're not adding too much more to staff's desk, because when the new council comes in 10 months from now, or whatever it is, 11 months from now, we want to at least be in a situation where a lot of that stuff is cleared up, right? And they're not coming into a mess, right? You want to allow them to come in where there's still some projects on the go, a lot of the groundwork's been done, and now show us your vision and take the community in the direction that you guys want to go with it. But to me, I think a strategic planning session has to happen early January. We have to get that done.
Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Howe. I think previously we've done it before budget. It makes sense. I know at one point, and it also kind of goes with your CAO and staff, how they kind of want to set up their budget. I know at the very first council I sat on, they actually put a segment in called Councillors Initiatives, which was like a $200,000 item in the budget so that we could do a strategic plan later. And I thought, wow, just for wish lists of, rinks and this and that. So I think it's a good idea to sit down beforehand, and then your staff can tell you what kind of money you're working with, and then we can, kind of reel it back so that it's workable for staff for the years ahead. Because sometimes you do it that way, and all of a sudden staff are left with this, I can't get all this done. It's crazy.
Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Howe and Kirby. I think we need to know where we want to spend the money before we actually go to budget, instead of doing it after and then trying to add these projects in. I don't think that's a good idea.
Councillor Norbert?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. It does sound like it makes sense, but what if we come up with something new, January, 12th? Our first budget meeting is the end of January, so now we have to suddenly adjust on a dime. We have to come up with these new plans. I think if we're looking at, is that our thoughts? Maybe I'm confused. Are we thinking about we want to change our strategic priorities in 2022? Because if we're deciding and we're giving staff, 2 weeks notice, I don't think that's realistic. And maybe this is visioning for the next council coming in, giving them our ideas, right? But that's my concern.
The first budget on the 26th is the capital projects, I believe, Ms. Thompson, and we were talking about that earlier, and Ms. Thompson was going to put out an email here before Christmas to council to give you an opportunity to add something to deliberations if there's something that you wanted to bring to the capital. I know last year we did it at the end, I believe it was, and I think it would be much more efficient to try and add it at the beginning. Councillor Howe?
So I can agree with what Councillor Norbert's concern is that if we absolutely blew this thing up and we came up with a complete new set of strategic priorities, yeah. What I think I'm more saying is that, we've got 80% of it we're going to continue on with. There may be some that have changed. We need to have the discussion about what we're going to change. And is there some stuff that we're going to add in? Has something changed in the last year or the year going forward that we need to be prepared for? For instance, maybe we get a decision down from this Blueberry case that we can't move forward with land, and we need to get our money back from the government. I don't know, but I don't think we're going to completely blow it up. It's going to continue on like the projects that are not wrapped up yet, but there might be some things that we need to add in. And at some point, you got to give staff a heads up when that's going to happen. Yeah, it might be a bit stressful for, before budget to get all of it done, but you got to pick away at it and get it started at some point. And I don't think it's a good thing to start midway through. But if it comes up, and you make a decision. We have reserve money for a reason. And, if we had to add in, because we have great opportunity to put in a recycling plant or something, and we've got to make a change on the fly at that point because that's the right decision for the community, then we do it. It's a vote of council. You add the money in at that point. It's not the best way to do it, but those things can happen. We just don't want 10 of those things to happen, right?
Well, and it is a 3-month process too, right? We start the end of January and end the end of March, so it's not like it's like we do have that opportunity to make changes throughout that 3 months too. So, Councillor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Just a question to our CAO. What is your thoughts on having a councillor's initiative or something put into the budget at an amount to be determined later on, just if you've done that ever before in your career?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Bertrand, through council. So previously, we didn't have the ability to do council initiatives. That's something that is new for me here. So, I mean, we can put a budget amount in, a line item amount in for that, and then council has the ability for those initiatives to come up. And then if it isn't used, you can always transfer it to reserves at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Councillor Howell?
So the councillor initiatives, if I'm not mistaken, Councillor Kirby, we brought that in because it was our first budget and we weren't sure how to do it, if I remember correctly. That's when that was brought in. We were learning how to do it as a new council, and we came up with this idea that, you know, what do we do if we want to do something like Councillor Norbury was talking about in April or after budget is done. So Barry Elliott was the CAO at the time. We came up with the idea of setting aside $200,000, and it was like a, you know, it was not good in the community, I'll tell you that. I heard people refer to it as a council slush fund and things like that, but it was a budgeting process so that if something did come about, and I think we wanted to steer clear of that, and I think, well, we're in our fourth year of our term, that we should be at this time and have your council initiatives ready to go. And if something does pop up along the way, then we need to have those discussions. But to have that money allotted there that we can, I'm not good with that just because of the feedback that I got from the community on it.
It's more of a contingency, really. Yeah. Any other comments? Okay, so mid-January, hopefully. Possibly. So, I guess, I'll make a motion that council asks staff to organize a strategic planning workshop for the new year. Seconder, Councillor Lehman. Discussion, Councillor Norbury.
Are we looking for a facilitator, or are we gonna do it in-house?
I think facilitator is the best, I think, in my opinion. I think it worked quite well last time. Councillor Norbury.
So then it makes sense that we add some sort of budget to this?
Well, I think we have to tender it anyway, so it would likely have to come back to council for approval. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. While we're discussing it, is this something that you would like to look at, like to do it on a workshop on a weekend or on a weekday?
Good question. Council?
Depends on the weekend.
Councillor Kirkhalka?
What did the last facilitator cost us? Like, this is a year ago. Where did the last facilitator cost us? Well, I'm not sure if I'm in.
I don't want to venture a guess. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I believe it was about,
7?
no. Well, oh, now you're making me second guess. I thought it was like closer to that $10,000 to have Mr. McIntosh come on for it.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. It is pretty standard that I've seen so far. Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you think it was money well spent doing that as a facilitator, or do you think we can try it now on our own?
Absolutely money well spent, in my opinion. I've been in 2 now facilitated, and there's a knack to it to try and bring a room together, and I don't know if I'd want to put that on our staff, to be honest. My opinion. Councillor Howell?
I'm open to, you know, having a facilitator come in, but I'm also not opposed to doing it ourselves in our 4th year of council. Timelines and getting somebody between now and the middle of January would be my concern. Over the holidays, you're not going to find anybody. There's not a lot of time to send it out to a tendering process and find the right group and whatnot. You know, I would prefer that, you know, we were able to, you know, bring Mr. McIntosh back in. I don't know if that's a legal way to spend our money or what, but to me, if we're going to go with a facilitator, maybe we see if he's available, and if he's not, then we try to do it ourselves. Again, I don't think we're totally blowing up the strategic priorities here. I think we just need to make sure the council's on board with what the amount of work is we give from staff. That's my biggest concern about the strategic priority, because I don't want in 2022 to have to hear constantly that we've got too much work on our plate, we didn't have enough employees to do what we took on. Either don't take the work on, let us know during budgeting season, and don't put it back on council if you don't have enough people to do it. So we need to know that from staff when the budget is complete, so.
Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, and that's sort of why I brought up the question, because I think it does need to be facilitated, because, I mean, I know I fall in the trap of just work harder sometimes. I sometimes just work harder. And, it does help to have that third-party person to assist us in that, as well as I think it assists staff in their portion as well. I remember staff coming out of that fresh. They had assistants. They had someone to help them with this. I think that's important to have that third person. So I think we should.
And availability. I'm okay with early February too, as long as it's within that 3-month budget process. I'm okay with that. Councillor Majinski.
Yeah, I just found the previous workbook we had, so we could even use that as a guideline if we wanted to. And even talk to him, like, even says next steps as a follow-up. Like, I know he's probably called us and talked to us after the fact, but maybe we can say if we can do our 1-year follow-up and see where we're at and what some of our downfalls were or whatever, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought you were volunteering to facilitate.
I'll just copy paste my name on top.
Thank you, Member Trent. Mr. McIntosh actually had reached out earlier, I guess late last week, about 2022 possibilities, and he did say that he is booking into May, so he would not be available for January or early February. He did say that he is booking already into May.
Okay. Right. Any other comments, questions? All in favor of the motion? Can we read the motion back, please?
Look at color. I work faster when I have 7 people.
Aye. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. So the motion read that staff organize a strategic planning session for mid-January.
Or the new year. I think it was the new year, but as soon as possible. Okay, call the question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Councilor Kirkpatrick.
So just in regards to this, it's on top there. The signpost installation on hold, do we have any updates on that?
We're talking about the fuel now. Follow up. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Ms. Thompson? The signs?
The signpost installation on hold, it says.
Oh, signpost.
So that, we need to schedule a meeting with some of the First Nations that had concerns with the installation of the signpost. So that we do need to follow up on, and that is something that we are planning on doing, that it could move forward through the spring if we're able to satisfy with the concerns that they currently have.
Councilor?
Yeah, and that's fine, thank you for that. Maybe we just mark that in at a timeline so we don't lose track of it. I guess my other question would be, and it's not on here, but it's been talked about over and over within the council. It was in a budget at one point, and that's a planting of a tree at the Roman walkway for Crescent, so we can stop cutting down trees and bringing them into town to decorate them. There was one planted at one point, but due to it being left at the public works yard laying on the ground for 3 weeks, it died. And I know that was rebudgeted for, it was supposed to be done. I mean, Ms. Thompson, it's not your fault, 'cause it was previous to you coming, but again, I see it's not done, that we had to go up and cut another tree.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, are you aware of planting a tree at the Roman walkway?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I was made aware of it at some point, and I had looked into it, and from my understanding that, you know, it was a smaller tree and that it was something that just had fallen off of staff's thing, and it wasn't something that I added this year as one of the things that I did, but it is definitely something I can.
Just so staff's aware, we actually budgeted for an arborist to come into the community to explain how to do it. Maybe we went out this summer, last summer, they actually paid for an individual to come up to the community to explain the process of making sure the tree was planted and how it would survive. So again, no disrespect to Ms. Thompson, but that's how quick something falls off the table, that we spent money to have it done right the second time, because the first time we laid it on the ground in the public works yard for 3 weeks. And that's why it died when it was planted. And that's definitely came up in the meeting. So then we budgeted to have this individual come in the community to explain to staff how to go the process, but we're still not done.
Change of staff probably didn't help, I would imagine. Any other questions in regards to the capital and special projects list? Okay, move on to the fuel. Follow-up action list. Any questions, concerns, comments? Councillor Kirkcalkin.
So just on the Barclay Group options, it's on hold.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So that was with the Economic Development Department, and Mr. Powell had been looking into it right before he left, so there was an initial conversation with the Barclay Group, but at this time it was capacity that we haven't followed up with them.
Okay. Follow-up, Councillor?
Yeah, no, I just appreciate the information. Waste collecting, including implementation of tipping fees to offset costs. Report was due for November 1st of 2021, which I don't remember seeing.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, and Council. So Mr. Simcock is currently working on some stuff with the management of waste, and we are expecting that report for January. And it was just something I didn't update to push it to January 2022.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howell?
Yeah, and with that update, are we going to get an idea of what recycling is costing or saving, or how much money we're making off of it or losing off of it? Is that part of what we're putting together here? And also, I want to make sure that what we're doing with steel has been brought back to the table here, because as I understood it, up until last year, we were getting paid for our steel. Then we made a decision to change groups, and now we are paying to get rid of our steel. And steel, scrap steel, is at an all-time high. The district of Tumbler Ridge is paying to get rid of their steel. So is that all included in this report?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's included in this report, Ms. Thompson. I do know that a full-on review of the waste transfer station is taking place at the moment. As far as the report on the recycling goes, I agree, we definitely need a report to bring in the costs and the revenue generated there. I'm not sure if that as well is included in this one. Ms. Thompson, can you explain this one, please?
So at that time, we had been talking about the tipping fees, and I know that the cost of our tipping fees has been decreased because we were having a lot of, especially we're talking about the 30-yard bins, right? So we have the construction waste and all of that. So that's what that one is going to be, yes. And I can talk to my senior staff and see if we're able to pull all the numbers. They might not be complete because we're just entering into year end. And with budget and that, it will be pretty tight to try and fit more time in to add in all the costing if we're going to bring in recycling and tipping fees, or recycling and steel as well. But it is something that Director of Public Works and Infrastructure right now is working on, what is going on at the transfer station and bringing that in to report whether or not we'll have full costs on everything. We will we'll see, but we will at least have a great idea of where we are with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're just about a year into the program, so any kind of statistics or numbers that we can bring to show us feasibility and everything, contamination percentages as well, that's very important, I think. Okay. You follow up, Councillor? Councillor Kirkowka?
So just another one, I wasn't gonna talk to Ms. Thompson about it, the state came off the table because we had an emergency meeting that BC ambulance was able to attend, but we're still looking for a BC ambulance delegation. Right? I don't think that, to me, that emergency meeting was due to something else that was happening with them in Northern Health. To me, we still want to see BC ambulance represented before council.
I agree.
It just said NA, so I don't understand what NA means.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. So the invitation has been sent to BCEHS. We just don't have a confirmed date on it yet. So there's no report that's required with it. So that's what report required, not applicable, right? So, but we just didn't have an update. The invitation's been sent, but we're looking into January for it.
Gotcha. Councillor?
So I guess a little concerning that we sent an email out asking for them to come in as a delegation and they have not responded.
Ms. Thompson?
So you are correct that when we had that emergency meeting, it did fall off of our plate because we felt that was the meeting that council had requested. But then as we went through and we're updating, we realized that no, we needed to re-invite them to a council meeting. So it is something that we just followed up within the last week. So
Okay.
we haven't checked back with the results.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howe?
Invite Argo Road Maintenance delegation to council. It's showing up as complete. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Argo not show up for the delegation?
The first week, they did come the second week. Though.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor. BC Hydro lighting on backside of existing trails. I believe that was a no-go because they aren't continuing that or offering that anymore. But also, did we speak on putting in all new LED lighting throughout the community as well? And it says contact was made with BC Hydro. I just want to know if there's a new update or what's going to go on for going forward, especially with the main turnoffs onto the highway coming in as well.
The newest update that I recall is BC Hydro is committed to replacing all of those lights when they burn out on a burnout basis. Councillor Howe?
Yeah, I mean, along Mackenzie Way over by Public Works, the majority of the lights in that area have already been replaced. But, this irritates me that they're not replaced with the same type of lights at all of the ones they're putting in. Some shine orange and some shine white. Like, the majority of our community right now is a nice bright white light and it looks great and better on the roadways, but BC Hydro is replacing them they are replacing them. And to me, I don't know if it's just ones that are burning out or they're just doing a string, and they're also replacing some poles. I don't know if you've noticed that in the community. They replace the pole and then they leave the old pole there as well. They cut the top off and leave, I think, their telephone lines or something on them. So that type of communication with staff might, be a little bit better sought out. Like, are they planning on leaving those poles along there like that? Because to me, they're a bit of an eyesore, right? But and the light, like if they're coming in to replace the lighting, like
it needs to be
keep it consistent with what we already have.
Absolutely. I think Ms. Thompson, if you could follow up with Director of Public Works just to relay our concerns as far as consistency goes, that would be appreciated. Councillor Majinski?
One last one. It says clarity from BC government district-owned weight room reuser times. I might have missed that meeting. I don't know what that's about. For what does the BC government have to do with our weight room? And
I think it was in regards to COVID restrictions, Ms. Thompson.
Yes, thank you. That's what that was. That is another one that we did miss on that for the clarity on it, because that's when we were talking about, when they're private versus when they're district owned. And so we are applying the COVID restriction, or sorry, the provincial health order and everything is being applied as it would be for any other weight room, right? And as they're, from my understanding, and I will follow up with Chief Curry as well, that there's, whether or not it's district owned or not, that it's still considered part of that in the provincial health order. That is something we will follow up on.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Moving on. 19th Annual BC Natural Resources Forum, January 18th, 2022. Does any council wish to attend? Motion to attend. It is virtual again. It's much more difficult to stay focused when virtual. It's very difficult, but I can represent council there if you would like, or if anyone would like to attend, please let us know. So I'll make a motion that council authorizes Mayor Bertrand to attend the 2022 BC Natural Resources Forum. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. Discussion? Laughing? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, for taking on this task. We believe in you, that you represent Tumbler Ridge. Thank you for taking this on.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, adjournment. Sorry, before adjournment, Councillor Kirk.
Yeah, just before German, just because we were talking about budget, I understand maybe it's not here, you can direct it to do it another time. But just a question in regards to the ice usage at the community center with COVID. So just something that's come up and been talked about, and it comes down to figure skating and hockey. And I'm just curious if there was ever a reduction given to them in 2019-2020 season, or the 2020 and 2021 season, in regards to ice usage. I know we set that thing where it depended on how many teams they had, and how many practices we were gonna have, and all that. It was a lump sum. Whatever that amount was, that's how this council had done it through there. Has that changed? Because I know previous with COVID, so it was asked about, I mean, I'm not trying to ask the thing, but it just with budget, it was a set amount. So depending on how many teams they had and how many practices they were gonna have with possible games, the set price that they all paid, so minor hockey would pay this, because figure skating does the different time zone, they pay this. Was there ever any reduction given to them due to COVID?
I think Ms. Thompson will have to research that a little bit, so we'll have to look at that. Ms. Thompson?
No, thank you. So yes, there's a reduction. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was brought to my attention and we had looked at it, and because it was X amount of teams and minor hockey didn't have as many teams, and then we did reduce the fees for last year because of that, but I don't know what the numbers were in that, but we did adjust things because it was kind of out to lunch the amount that they would be charged.
Due to attendance, right?
And and reduction.
Councillor?
So I apologize, again, I apologize for going away from what the agenda was here. Can we have that added to a meeting for discussion? The only reason I asked, I don't want to ask staff just to email me the numbers, but it's been asked. So, I mean, I think we should have that open knowledge, and I apologize to council and the staff that wasn't even asked about at budget. Previous budget, last January, was a reduction given to these guys? I mean, we see all these numbers and how do you dig through it all, but because the budget was coming up, it was actually asked. And I thought, geez, that's good press. So obviously we have done something for them, and I was concerned we hadn't, was the problem, because we hadn't done something for them.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, adjournment. Councillor Kirkhalka.
The Monday, December 13th, 2021 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be adjourned.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed?
So if we reduce, let's say,